Good morning, welcome back. It's Monday morning. My parts have just arrived for this DA40 dump truck that I'm going to. It's 10 to 10 now, so they're literally just in. So yeah, there's a bush away at the top of a skip ram on this dump truck, so never done one before, so we'll go and see what sort of a fight it's going to be, if it's going to put up any fight at all. I mean, there's not much left of the bush to remove, so with a bit of luck it'll be quite straightforward. The worst bit about the job will be lowering the ram down and sort of doing it safely. It's on a quarry, so everything has to be just spot on. So no cutting corners and safety first and all that good stuff, as usual of course. Right, I'm going to head down the road and hopefully I'll catch you there. Like I say, I don't know what it'll be like on site, whether it be phones left and all that jazz, so we'll see. Right, I'll just put this into part of another video. Basically, I'm on a quarry. I've been here since about 11 o'clock. And it's 1 o'clock now, and I've got all my permits and everything for working, so yeah, it's taken 2 hours. So this will be all I can show you. Basically what I need to do is take that pin out there, drop that skip ram down onto the tyre, hammer the old bush out, which should hammer out because it's held in with circlips, hammer the new bush in, and then lift that ram back up. Yeah, it's on that far side, the other side of the machine. Basically the grease pipe's been ripped off it and there's nothing left of the bush. So hopefully it'll be straightforward enough. You do wonder whether the paperwork's taken longer than the job itself, but it is what it is. I know there's going to be plenty of you commenting about how long it takes to do a job and paperwork and health and safety and all that stuff, but it's just part of the job in this day and age now. So yeah, that's the DA40 dump truck. Morning all, it's Tuesday morning and yeah, I'll show you where we're at. Yep, we're still here. So yesterday we had a bit of a fight getting the original pin out because the bush had completely shattered and disappeared. When that ram's been sat on top of the pin and it's been going up and down the quarry, it's been sort of chattering away on the pin, which has damaged the pin, so there's lots of marks on the pin. So trying to pull it out through the body of the dumper there, it wouldn't just come through. If it was in the workshop or you know elsewhere, what we'd have done is use a cutting disc and cut either side of the ram, cut the pin out, and then we could smack the pin the way that it wanted to go, which wasn't damaged, and we'd have had it out. But just because of sort of the rules on this site, we couldn't do that, so we had to persevere and sort of using a puller to pull the pin through. Got the ram lowered down. There was basically the remnants of the old bush came out in chunks because it had been smashed. So when we went to offer the new bushing into it, the eye of the ram end was all chattered, so we had to tidy that up. But we ran out of daylight yesterday and site was shutting, so we've come back today. That's my work's phone ringing now, so yeah, we'll get that. All right. So I'm just waiting on the driver and my cherry picker to take me up. Yeah, it's about all I can really film. Like I say, the length of the job, it's just we've got to kind of work to the rules and regs on this particular site. It is what it is, and you just got to persevere with it. Yeah, this is my new bearing. And I'll show you this. This is the old pin. You can see how the pin's beveled like that. These bushes here sit in the body of the tailgate, so as you tighten this bolt up, it sort of tightens these bushes into the body. So when you take this bolt out to hit that pin through, the natural thing for it to do, you might hit it that way, but you're gonna tighten this bushing that way, and pulling it the other way, tighten the bushing the other way. So we had that to contend with yesterday. What I managed to do is drill a hole here where each split is, and we managed to split the bushing, and then we got it out, or the bushing's out. But you can see the state of the pin. We really struggled to get it out through the body of the tailgate. I've got this socket over it and this bit of threaded bar, and eventually we managed to hammer like hell. This bar was longer, we made a bit of a slide hammer up out of it, and we got it so far, and then we chopped it off and put a 3/4 gun on it and rattled it out. But yeah, like I say, what I would have done is just cut across here and the other side, drop the ram out, and then I would have then been able to hammer this part of the pin into the centre, and then I can hammer that part of the pin out. But yeah, right, I'm gonna crack on with this job now and hopefully see it the other side. So that's it complete. The job was a bit like hard work, to be honest with you. Tell you what though, that would have been a good job for you to see. It would have, because it was like serious graft. And I tell you what, I'm ready to do some services now. I know a week or two back there I was saying, oh, I'm sick of services. I'm ready for a service now, I tell you. I really am. And I don't get the wrong idea as well about what I'm saying about health and safety and things like that. It's there for a reason. This site has a duty of care for me and its employees and its contractors, and these measures are put in place to keep everybody safe. I get that, and I really understand that, and you've got to adapt the way you work to their standards. And obviously the standards on this site is so high for health and safety. Obviously when you're on other sites, you just sort of make a visual judgment and sort of method statement in your head of how you're going to go about things. You know, you use your common sense, but obviously before we did this job we had to write out the method statement, how we were going to do the job. So the rules are there and I'm not complaining about them, and I don't want it to come across that I'm complaining about them either. That's the job done now. The job's been done safely and that machine's ready to go back to work, so nobody loses out really. I mean, at the end of the day, if that job took me 2 hours, it took me 2 hours. If it took me 10 hours, it took me 10 hours. It is what it is. So yeah. Right, I'm feeling better after something to eat. I'll go and see what else there is to do now. Morning all, it's Wednesday, and yeah, I'm gonna go and get lots of diggers sorted today, because obviously the last 2 days was spent in that quarry. I got back to the yard at 3 o'clock yesterday, caught up on all my missed calls, organised a load of jobs for today, and hopefully we'll get lots of jobs ticked off the to-do list. That's the goal for today. What have we got? 2 8-tonners and a 225 and a 235. They're all roughly in the same area apart from this first machine, which is just in Carlisle, so I'm going to go and see it. 8.5-tonner, and the seats come loose, so we'll go and get a look at that. So our first job of the day, this 8-tonner. Just had a quick look myself, and you can just see, can you see it? There's the bolt there. Come on, light. Anyway, the bolt's fallen out, holding this rail to the bottom of this frame, and that one's just hanging in there. Yeah, try and get them out, and hopefully I'll be able to pull this rail forward and get underneath. But I can't pull it forward because the bolts are blocking the blocking the way. This will be a bit of a jiggery pokery kind of a job, but we'll get it. Managed to extract the bolts and I've got it pulled forward, which will now let me access underneath here, get these 2 bolts in, tightened up. I've got a couple of new ones. I think I'll grab them just in case them ones are a bit, they don't look too bad, but I'll just grab some new ones because I can and I've got them. Oh, it's a bit awkward this. I've used 3 different 6mm Allen keys. I've got this short cut off one here for, well, I did, I got these bottom ones in, no bother at all. Once I got the old ones pulled out, I was able to pull it forward on the rails and shove them in. And then I thought I'll just check these, and I got these ones tightened up. And then when I checked the back, it was missing out of this side and still in at that side. So I've got that one replaced at the back and tightened up, and then access at the back of here to get underneath there. Oh, I was struggling. I was. So what I've actually managed to do is slacken these 2 on the bottom, and then at the back I've hold on, pull that seat up. Take them out the frame at the bottom so I can tilt this seat forward and then get in underneath at the bottom one. So now I've just got these 2 to put back in, line up, which will be easier said than done. So these 2 back ones are tight, holding the sort of suspension to the seat frame. So get them ones now. There we go. The only play in that seat now is just what's in the rails, because it's old. The rails are old and worn. Right, on to the next one. Right, I'm at this 225-3. Water and fuel detected, and there was water in the fuel bowl, so just replacing the fuel filters, and the wiper has got a mind of its own, so I've got a wiper controller to fit. I'll show you that. So I've pulled out filter head apart because it was all chock-a-block with muck, and obviously I've drained the filter into there now, but there was a decent amount of water in there. It's bad to tell now, with everybody running white diesel, it's bad to tell what how much water is in there, but yeah, that's all run off. So put it all back together and we'll go into the cab. Right, wiper controller looks like this. It's in behind the seat underneath the EPOS, so I'll take back a cab of the machine apart and replace this. What the machine's doing is when you set the wiper off, it doesn't know where to stop. Couple of causes for that. It can be an internal fault inside the wiper motor. It can also happen when the fuse for the wiper motor goes, and it can also happen when the fuse for the controller goes. Check the 2 fuses, they're okay. I think from what I've gathered, they've had a new wiper motor on it, so we'll go with the controller, which they've supplied. So we'll try it, see if it fixes it. That's where the wiper park controller sits, and this EPOS, but it hasn't fixed it. That's probably why it isn't working. I'll plug it in and we'll see what it does now. Right, that's in my way back to work. Yeah, so the wiper still has a mind of its own. Obviously I stripped up back that cab, it's only a 5-minute job. I put that controller in, and he was on the phone to us, he was saying that he'd had somebody check that wiper out and it was okay, and it was the controller, but I beg to differ. So I have a feeling I'll be back out this way anyway, because the next job, this 8.5 tonner, the boom's creeping down, so we'll go and see what that is, and then we'll come back out this way and sort that out. We'll call in and plug a wiper onto it just to prove a point, and if it needs it we'll fit it. If it doesn't, then I'll continue my wiring investigation. But at first glances, when I put multimeter on, it seems to be the wiper that's at fault, and saying to the driver there, sort of 60% of the time it's the controller, 40% of the time it's the wiper. So it's, and also as well, there's some sort of, seem to remember they changed the wiper from a certain serial number range, and the old wiper isn't compatible with the new controller, but you can't get the old style controller anymore, so if you fit a new controller it has to have the new wiper, something like that. I seem to remember that from a long time ago, so could be wrong. Yeah, we'll come back to that. It also wants a pilot accumulator as well, because he's saying he can't get his grab on and off, and when you turn the ignition on and rock the hydraulics, the arm doesn't settle out, so pilot accumulator required for that as well. So yeah, that's not an issue, no biggie. We've sorted out the fuel problem, so we've got something done. Yeah, next one is that 8 tonner I was telling you about, so I'll have a bite of lunch. It's just after 12 o'clock. I'll have a bite of lunch now and then I'll head on to it. Right, next job of the day. Time is 24 minutes past 1. I'm going to have a look at this 85, the arms dropping. So I'll talk, well, hopefully anyway, we'll show you that. Look at this, look. Must be money in building houses, I tell you. Nice motor. Right, so what we'll do first, the machine's been working, it's nice and hot. Double check. Yes, lovely and warm. Looks like it's due a service. Yeah, we'll lift the arm up and we'll stretch it right out. We'll scoop that Porsche up and we'll see how far it drops. I'll just mark it with a marker pen and see how far and how quick it drops. So did it move? If you go back and have a look, you can just see the bucket coming down, and it's sort of, you see the gate post kind of appearing from behind the bucket, and that was over the space of about 3 or 4 minutes, so there is something moving. I've marked my rams up, so I'll go and see which one it is. So it's the boom ram that is creeping. So what I'm going to do now is find some caps, blank off the tank line and the pilot line from the check valve, raise the arm up and see if it still drops, because in the 14 tonners and the 20 tonners actually, from experience, the oil escapes through the tank line if the check valve fails. So I've never had it on an 8.5 before, like, so I'm just gonna do some fault finding, and after that we'll basically remove the check valve from the circuit and blank the ram off and see if it's internally inside the ram that's leaking. Right. That's it capped off. So we'll just shoot this dipper arm away from us, put a load on the arm, and we'll repeat the test. So I'll put it on a time lapse and we can see if it's dropping. So that arm hasn't moved, and I know that because I can still see my permanent marker. So it's going to be a new one of these that we need. Another job as well is this one is losing a bit of coolant, and I've gone to the usual suspect place behind this plate here. There's the hot water tap, and sure enough it's damp. So I'll get a tap for the heater in the cab and a new lock valve, and we'll come back hopefully at the end of the week, put that on, and then from here we can go back to our 225 and put a wiper motor on it and that pilot accumulator. Sounds like a plan to me. So I'm going to put this boom back on the floor and put the pipes back on, let the customer know what the score is, and we'll get on. Beep, beep, beep. Goodness me, calm yourself. Put that it down gently. That'll do. Right, pop these pipes back on. 2:30 and we're on the way to the last job of the day. I tell you, I've got more done today, or I feel like I've got more done today than I did in the last 2 days. Funny, isn't it? Yeah, next job, 235. It's not particularly old, but occasionally it's not done it with me, and I have investigated it briefly. When you start up, it doesn't sound like it's running on all cylinders. Now I've had this issue before, but it was slightly different, and I think it's engine software. So my boss has got hold of the latest engine software. We'll go and plug in and see what's on it and see if it needs updating. We've hit a blockage, look. He's going to come by on that side, is he? Let's have a go. Sound job, fella. Stone's there. Send it on, hundreds of space. I'm gonna hit this stone here. Whoa, I tell you what, you wouldn't get much through that gap. You would not. Onwards. Right, 235, let's have a look. Let's start it up first and just see if it does it with me, because obviously the machine has been running. And it's a very, very intermittent fault. So I'll start it up and see if it does it. And if it does it, then I'll have a look, see what error codes there are, if there are any.
Taking action for climate. Visit Eon Energy.
Oh, password. I'll have to phone the owner. So we're in, I've logged on with my laptop, still haven't started the machine yet. What I'll do first is update the ECU. Does look like it's got a similar version. Yeah, I'll just double check what software version I've got, and if it needs it I'll put a fresh one on. Looking at the error codes here, there's a couple, clear off. Couple here, don't know why that keeps happening. Injection cutoff demand for shutoff coordinator, and the one that I've seen before, diagnostic fault, check to report the error due to overrun. So I'll have a look into those. The rest of these are SCR faults, so it hasn't fulfilled a regen, is what that one's saying. Inducement's active due to interruption of dosing, and that one comes along with it. Inducement is active due to tampering. So there's been an AdBlue fault once upon a time. Can't think if I've ever been to this for an AdBlue fault. Don't think I have. But yeah, it's definitely these two here that are interesting. So I'll have a look at those. But I'll just check the engine software first. So ECU software is up to date. This is the first checklist for the first error code, which is, what's the code? It says error in the plausibility of current energizing time with maximum permitted energizing time. What does that mean? Condition for running the code, so condition for the diagnostic code coming on, engine key on or engine running, as you would expect. There goes my phone. Condition for setting the fault code, diagnostic fault check to report the error due to overrun. The current energizing time is greater than the maximum permitted energizing time. After overrun demand by the driver, the maximum permitted energizing time is calculated by the engine speed in the ECU. So does that mean that the injectors have been energized for too long? I think that's how I'll take it. Checklist: is the fault code detected on the diagnostic tool? Yes. Proceed to step 2. Turn off the key, switch the power and ECU power. So basically turn the key off for 30 seconds. After key on, check the engine speed problem. So obviously fault code isn't active, so I can't carry out that step. So when the fault is occurred, you're expected to turn the machine off, turn the ignition on, and you would check to see what the engine RPM is on there. I suppose if you just keyed on, the engine RPM should be 0, but perhaps if the engine thinks it's running at 1200 RPM, then it'll put this code up perhaps. Restart the ECU and check the fault state. Is this fault detected continuously? No, problem solved. So the problem is solved by turning the machine off and turning it back on again, which is kind of what he was saying. So I spoke to the driver to get the code to start the machine. He was saying that you'll be working away happily, you'll let the machine drop down to idle, and then you pick up the controls so the auto idle would kick in and it would just start running like it was running on a few cylinders, not all 6, which I've had before. On a 225, when it went into a forced regen, it would ramp up the revs, it'd get to 1400, and then as it goes up to the 1800 stage, it would just start coughing and spluttering, and it would bring up the same code. Like I say, I'm sure that was a software update that cured that. And the other code, which is a little more interesting, so that one is associated with it. Injection cutoff demand for shutoff coordinator. Shutoff request of the injector cutoff for the shutoff coordinator. This injection cutoff request results from malfunction of accelerator pedal injector energizing time in order to protect the driver and engine. Condition for setting the fault code: when the injection cutoff request is sent due to malfunction of accelerator pedal, injector energizing time, etc. P1008 is raising the diagnostic tool. Yes. Call the hotline. What's the hotline number? I need a hotline number. Goodness me. Yeah, so it's not really giving us anything to, like, unless I'm physically there when this abnormality happens, there's not an awful lot I think I can do. So this might be a email to Doosan, see if they've come across it before, and go from there, I think. Yeah, so this is like a snapshot of when the fault occurred, and the engine speed's doing something really weird there. Definitely shouldn't be running that fast. Yeah, but then sometimes when you see these snapshots, it doesn't really make sense, because if I look at the other one, the snapshot there, the engine speed is only 681. Unusual. Right, I'll take a lot of information off the machine, do a couple of downloads, and I'll have to write up a report and send it off, see what we come back with. Yeah. So while I get the rest of this information that I need off this digger, we'll probably leave it at that for today. It's been a bit of a, obviously we didn't put Monday's video out because it was literally, well, you've probably seen now, so I've just kind of crammed that into this video. So whether this will be a long video, I don't know. How much I'll edit out, I don't know. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Now tomorrow, back end of last week, there was a fellow with a 160 high track over on the East Coast working on a 3,000 hour service, so we'll try and pencil it in for the back end of this week. With the jobs that we've seen today, obviously we'll be returning to a couple of them on Friday to fit parts, so that leaves me tomorrow kind of free. Now, to go all the way to the East Coast to do one service seems like a long way and an expensive service, so I've been on my Doosan Connect app and I've had a look at who's sort of in that area or who I'll be passing. So there's a 140 LC-7. It's 22 hours off a 1,000-hour service. So phoned the owner, he didn't even realise, thought it was fantastic. Yep, crack on, just call in. So we've got that to do, and I think there's a 140 LCR that I might try and get hold of as well. It'll just be a first service, so it'll just be engine oil and filter. So that'll be tomorrow, day of servicing hopefully. What else can I add? Yeah, that's it. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video anyway, and thanks very much for watching. Please keep leaving the comments, I do enjoy reading them, and I do try and get back to most of you where I can. And yeah, if you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments, and yeah, I'll get back to you. Right, have a good evening everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.